Welcome back to another episode of Profitable Publishing. This is the space for coaches, consultants, speakers, and service providers to be able to understand how to package your expertise into a profitable book. And not just any book, but a book that builds your brand, attracts your audience, and supports real business growth. Today's topic is one that you might kind of know secretly behind the scenes, but might not really be ready to admit to yourself. So today we're going to be talking about how you're actually probably waiting too long to start marketing your book. Now, in the space of self-publishing, independent publishing, and everything in between, most of the focus is on the publishing process, and then marketing can come in as an afterthought. And if your goal is to sell a certain number of books or to get on bestseller status or bestsellers list, things like that, then you really want to make sure that you're not pushing marketing off to the side. Really, your marketing should be something you think about before your book is done, before you even start writing your book. Not saying that you need to have everything mapped out, but you do want to be intentional about the ways in which you think about how you're going to incorporate your marketing. And I'll give you some examples of what that can look like, as well as when you should actually start your marketing, because it is going to depend on a couple factors for you. And so earlier this week, I was on a consult call with a potential client, and one of her questions was, well, how long should I actually make my book launch? And I gave her an answer that a business mentor gave to me years ago. And that answer, when I heard it, originally frustrated me and made it seem like that he was just kind of evading the answer. And so what I told her is it depends. And I'm not someone who likes to just give blanket answers to questions. It really depends on a lot of factors. It depends on what type of book you have. It depends on if you have support for your launch and your publishing. If you're doing everything yourself, meaning that you're doing entirely DIY, maybe you've grabbed a course or something of that sort and you are using that to help guide your process, then you have to actually account for the time that it takes to learn how to do the steps and then add on additional time to actually do them. Versus if you were working with a consultant like myself, and I do also offer courses, but if you're working with a consultant like myself, then you have to build in time for that relationship to be fostered, and also for the person, whether they're offering a done for you service or really letting you know what it is that you need to be doing. From a coaching aspect, there still has to be time built into that. And so it depends. There are multiple factors. And so there's a few questions you want to ask yourself when it comes to thinking about your marketing and when you kind of want to get started with it. So one is that how are you going to incorporate this into things that are already going on in your life? And so when I say that, I mean that you probably already have a business. You are either a speaker, you're a coach or consultant. You have things that are going on. And so you have to account for those things in addition to a book launch and in addition to publishing your book. These are things where, if you think about traditionally published authors, this is their full-time job for some of them. And so it can be a lot to add it on top of what it is that you're already doing, because you have a business to run, you might have a family, you might be working a 9 to 5. And so really consider the ways in which you can incorporate this and be mindful of your capacity that you have. The next thing you want to consider is how far removed are you from the actual content? And are you able to speak about it freely without getting emotional? Are you able to speak about it in a way that you are in an authoritative standpoint, as opposed to someone who is still kind of going through whatever the situation is, if your book is something that helps people get a transformation? And so you really want to consider how far removed you are from it, and if you're ready to actually make it something where you are the spokesperson, you're the one who is the advocate, showing, okay, this is my system of how I overcome this challenge, or this is the way in which you implement this. Because once you start putting yourself out there in this space and being known for this thing, then you're going to attract people who need help with that thing. And so that was something that I also mentioned to the potential client on the call earlier this week, is that in her case, she mentioned that she wasn't necessarily looking for more clients. But I said, okay, well, if you're showing that you're such an expert, you're showing that you're getting people results, naturally people are just going to come to you as a result of reading your book. And so you have to be mindful of having the capacity to receive them, as well as a process to receive them. And then lastly, you want to think about, do you need support for your publishing and or marketing your book, or for your launch period? And so this is important because it can be very easy for these things to kind of pile up. And when you are thinking about, especially if this is your first book, you want to make sure you have a good impression right from the start. And so if you are letting people come alongside you for this adventure, and you are overwhelmed by, okay, I have all these publishing steps, but then also I need to promote my book, and then also I'm trying to promote my existing offers that I have in my business, and then also I have a 9-to-5. Like, it can be a lot. And so thinking about the amount of support that you need and really being realistic with yourself in terms of, okay, is this something I've done before? Have I launched a book before? Because it is different than releasing other products. It's not the exact same. And is it something where I need to make sure that I have everything done ahead of time, so that way I can have things be smooth sailing, so I can schedule things out? Or do you work better where you are working on one piece at a time? And so help like that is available. Those are things that I support clients with inside my programs. And so those are questions you want to ask yourself before you start your marketing. And I've released books in 4 different genres, and for that means each time I've had to build out my audience for that topic. This is a common misconception, that just because people already follow you or because they know you, that they're going to buy every book that you release, or they're going to sign up for every product that you have because they're considered to be a follower or a fan. Now, you will have people that do that. Like, I've had people who have followed me from my Daniel Fast days, and not to say those are in the past, but who have supported me when I'm doing cooking events for Daniel Fast, and then they find me for publishing, and then they're still right here rocking with me, and I appreciate them. But in general, you're typically not going to have that for everything. And so if you're someone who's writing books in different genres, or you're writing books about slightly different topics, you're going to have to spend time building out that audience. And so if you are waiting until your book is done, or you're waiting until you release, or you're waiting until after a certain point, then that means that you are missing out on opportunities that you could be using to promote your book, to bring people along on the journey, to really help them to kind of tune their minds and get ready for the thing that it is that you want to release. And so for me, I am a huge advocate of pre-orders. If you've been here listening to the podcast or seen me on social, you know that that's my jam. And so it's even more important when you're doing that with pre-orders, because the belief that you have to create in someone else that you're going to finish your book and that's going to be exactly what they need is so much stronger when you're selling something that doesn't exist yet. And so that's why I am also sharing success strategies and mistakes to avoid inside of the 4-day Pre-Order Profits Challenge. So if you haven't signed up for that, then go ahead and visit preorderprofits.com, and you can register for VIP to secure your VIP seat. If you're not able to attend live, you can grab the replays that way, or you can join with the free level as well. But when it comes to your pre-orders, when it comes to your launch and everything in between, it's really important that you build a buzz and not just pop up and say, oh, buy my book. There's so many times that I see that, and then when I speak to those authors or when I see their comments, they're like, well, nobody's supporting me, or people don't want to buy my book, and they basically are just kind of blaming it on the potential buyers, as opposed to really doing an introspective look and saying, did I really take my reader on a journey, or did I just assume and expect they would buy my book just because I exist, or just because the book exists? And this is a very common phrase that people say that is just not accurate. If you build it, they will come. I don't believe that for books. In really most products and services, I think if you have an audience, if you warm that audience up, and if you make them aware of their problem or make them aware of whatever transformation they're trying to get, then the sales can happen. But just to assume that just because your book exists that people are automatically going to buy it with very little effort is a fallacy. Unless you have a really large audience, or unless you have a smaller audience and they're very, very engaged. But even then, you have to introduce it and let people know, hey, I have this thing that's out, go ahead and grab it, this is how it's going to help you. And so with that, you are able, when you're doing that, so when you're hosting your pre-order, when you're hosting a launch, and you are taking people on a journey, in a systematic way, not just here's a random buy my book post, sliding in people's DMs, asking them to buy your book, which please don't do that, y'all. Please do not do that. I had somebody do that a couple weeks ago. No, they emailed me, gave me the information for their book. I've never talked to this person before in my life. We're not even friends on social media. They just randomly emailed me their book and was like, hey, it's going to be available for pre-order. Send me your email and I'll send you payment information. And I'm thinking, you emailed me. What do you mean send you my email? You found me and emailed me. Anyway, when you are hosting a launch and when you're hosting a pre-order and you're doing it the right way, you are bringing people along with you on the journey. You're not just waiting until the book is done to then say, okay, go ahead and buy it. You're not popping up out of nowhere without even telling people that you're writing a book, without even letting them know, hey, I got my edits back. The formatter did X, Y, and Z on my draft. Like, people are inherently nosy and curious. Let me say curious, not nosy. People are inherently curious. They want to know and they want to understand the process. Even if they already understand the publishing process, they want to see it from your perspective, because the people that are going to be buying your stuff are gravitating towards you. They're naturally inclined to be interested in what it is that you're doing, the unique perspective that you provide, and how you can help them to be able to have whatever change it is that you're having them come across. And so when you are waiting to start your marketing until everything is perfectly polished, or when your book is completely finished, when you have your book in your hand, is another thing I see authors do, then you're basically robbing these people of the opportunity to come along on the fantastic voyage with you, because you've already decided everything for them. So that means you're likely missing out on that beta reader feedback, meaning that people are not able to give their opinions before the book is fully published, which can heavily affect your reviews. It can affect the way in which people understand your book, because you are creating in a silo and you're not actually getting real life feedback from individuals. And I don't just mean using AI. Like, that's absolutely not what I mean at all in the least. I mean actually letting people read your book, giving you that feedback, and then you going through a process of changing and adjusting it. And then also, if you're waiting longer to do your marketing, it means that you are also working against yourself when it comes to increasing your audience excitement and their engagement. And in the case of, especially right now at the time of this recording, there's a lot of things happening online, a lot of things happening in the world. And the amount of time that you might have to post something has increased. So previously, back in the day with social media, you could post something, people would see it right away, or people would see it whenever they logged on. And some platforms even would save it if they hadn't logged on in a couple of days. But now it's like, you might see someone's post from like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I've seen posts as far as a month ago. And I was like, I never even saw this in the first place. And it's because the algorithm changes. And so if you are waiting until your release day, waiting until your release week, waiting until the very last minute to be able to tell people, hey, I have a book coming out, then you really are affecting your bestseller status if that's a goal that you're looking to get, or your hot new release status if you're trying to get it earlier and closer to the time when it's first released. And then also you are affecting your engagement and your energy, because, and I don't mean that in like a frou-frou way, but basically when people give you feedback, the right people, because these are going to be your raving fans, when they give you feedback earlier on, that can energize you, because it's showing like, oh, okay, people really like what it is that I'm writing. And if you're hosting a pre-order, people are paying me to write this thing. I'm creating my own advance. I am basically being my own version of a traditionally published author, but I get to keep all of my royalties, and also I have all of the creative control. And so if you are not putting yourself out there, if you're not putting snippets of your book out there, if you're not taking people on the journey, then you rob yourself of that experience as well. And then, of course, once again, if you're doing pre-orders, then you rob yourself of the income. If you are not letting people know about your book earlier on, and I'll give you some strategies to know when you should actually let them know. But if you're not letting people know about your book before it's done or before it's published, that means you are also robbing people of the income opportunities of being able to buy your book on pre-order. I was speaking to another author, and she is in the process of finishing her book. So she's got a couple chapters left. And she said that people are already asking her, when is it coming out? Can I go ahead and order it? And I said to her, what is the holdup? Like, why are you not allowing pre-orders? And there was just this hesitation of like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if people will buy it. And I'm thinking, but you literally just said you have people that said they would buy it. So don't make it difficult for people to pay you, and don't make it difficult for people to support you. As well, going back to the consult call from earlier this week, the potential client mentioned that she doesn't have an audience. And so earlier I said that I actually have built my audience multiple times because with each book I release, it's got a slightly different audience so far. And so I was thinking about that with her, and in my mind, and I said this to her too as well, you kind of have like the chicken versus egg concept. So you've heard of like, okay, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Now with this, you have to think about it like, okay, if I focus on finishing writing my book and I don't promote it, then I'm not going to have anybody to promote it to. If I promote it and I don't finish it, then I don't have anything to actually sell them. So that's one aspect. And then also, if you're doing a pre-order, which I'm a huge proponent of, as I've mentioned multiple times, if you are not engaging with your audience, then when it comes time to sell them something, they're not going to want to buy the thing because they're going to be like, well, so you spent all this time and energy on a book and you just now telling us. Or the first time you tell us about this is when you want to get money from us. If it's your friends and family, they might be like, okay, cool, that's fine. They're not going to be as annoyed about that. But other people might be. They might be like, well, I don't even know you. I don't know what you're about. Like, if you're not spending time building and nurturing that audience, then you are basically making it harder for you to sell books. So you're working against yourself. And so when you host a launch and a pre-order, it helps you to be able to shift your audience in a direction towards where you want them to go. So moving them from, okay, this is just general content, to there's some anticipation, something is happening, they are working on something, something's coming. It prepares them so that they know, I need to get ready. Or it prepares them so they know, okay, I am interested in what they're talking about. I don't know what it is exactly, unless you've like said it's a book. And they are basically already working to get their money ready, especially if you're including something beyond just the book, like you're including an experience with the book. And then lastly, you're energizing your audience. People want to support you. I know that's kind of sadly a radical idea in authorship, but there are people out there that want to support you. Strangers on the internet love to support other strangers, especially when it comes to a book. There's something about it that people just get really excited about. And if you are waiting so long to promote your book and not thinking about your pre-order, then you once again take that opportunity away from people so that they can't have that to be able to support you. So once again, let people support you. Next, I want to talk about when to start your marketing. And so these are general recommendations. Of course, this depends, like we talked about earlier, it depends. But these are 3 ways in which you can decide, okay, this is a good time for me, this is a good time, and then this is a good time. And so each of these can depend upon what is it you have going on, but really think about, for your current book, which one is the best fit for you. And now I'm talking about when to start your marketing. And so when I say that, that means that you are talking about the launch period, not just your release. So if you are launching, that means you're going through a systematic series of steps to be able to let people know that you have something that's coming out, and you're sharing it, and you're actually going to give them the opportunity to buy it, preferably during the pre-order period. If you're releasing, that means you just are putting up a post or saying something or announcing something the day it's available, maybe the day before it's available, and then you don't have much else outside of that. And so most people are releasing instead of launching and calling it a launch, but in actuality, you're not building up that anticipation. You're just saying, oh, hey, my thing's out, go buy it. That's just a release. And so with that, you are going to have your pre-order period inside of this launch period. So you're not going to just start your launch and ask people to start buying unless your audience is very, very engaged. So there's some people that can get away with it. Typically, that's not the case for most smaller independent authors or smaller business owners. And so one thing you want to consider is that, are you just selling the book? Or are you selling something that's tied to the book? So for example, with my book, Profitable Publishing with Preorders, I included a I included a 9-week accelerator as a part of my Pre-Order Profits program. And so the accelerator is 9 weeks. And so with that book launch, I had to make sure that I accounted for enough time to have that as a part of the launch. So that way I could use the case studies from the people who went through the program inside my book. And so that takes backwards planning and that takes support. And if that's something you need help with, that is something that we do inside of the Pre-Order Profits Accelerator or the VIP level. So that way you can have a done for you experience that helps you to really set that up for success. Now, 3 places you can start your marketing. And so with this, once again, I'm talking about your launch, not just your pre-order. And so you can start your marketing when you first start your book. Now, for some people, this is going to be way too much because it creates pressure. If you're starting to write your book, then you also let people know you're writing a book. That means that you have a longer time period between idea and execution in terms of having a physical book in your hand. Now, if you're okay with that and you understand that just because you tell people you're writing a book doesn't mean that they are expecting it next week. They're just excited for you, and they also might check up on you about it. And if you're okay with that, then cool. For some people, that puts a lot of unnecessary pressure on them because then they feel like they're on a clock. Also, with each of these options, when you host a pre-order inside of this, you are definitely on the clock. When you start taking people's money, you are on the clock to deliver that book. And so it's important to do that strategically and also to make sure you're avoiding mistakes because you don't want people coming to you asking for refunds, asking where's my book, things like that. And so if you haven't already registered, I do want to encourage you to secure your VIP seat for the Pre-Order Profits 4-day challenge. And so I'll go over things such as pre-order mistakes that most authors are making and success strategies to help you with your pre-order. So once again, first option is to announce that start your marketing to announce that you're releasing a book when you actually start writing your book. Then the second one is when you finish your developmental edits. And for me, I typically like to do this stage just because your book's a little bit more concrete. It's a little bit closer to being on the finished side. Of course, you still have your formatting, your cover design, but at that point, you really have a clearly defined idea of what the book should include. And when I work with clients, I notice that people who start their marketing around this time period and also who open their pre-order shortly after are really able to have enough time to get the success they want to see because the book is not completed yet. So there's still time to take their reader on the journey, but it's done enough that they are not going to have huge changes. They're not going to have something that's a huge overhaul to where they would have to start over from scratch typically. And so that's kind of my sweet spot that I like. And then the third option is to start your marketing when your manuscript is complete, meaning like you've gone through all your editing rounds, you have your fully formatted version, you may also have your cover done, and you just haven't uploaded it just yet to the platforms. And so you're like right on the cusp of publishing, but you're just not there yet. For some people, this is a good fit because they feel like, okay, I've done all of the heavy lifting for publishing. Now I can really focus on my marketing, and that's fine. It just depends on your preference. It depends on what you can handle and your capacity. And so that's another great option as well. Each of these provide options and opportunity for pre-orders to be able to use those to create your own advance, to recover your publishing costs. And the timing of when you do those has to be strategic, as I mentioned before, because you want to make sure you want to make sure that you're not getting angry customers. As well, you want to use the time to also support them on the journey of following you, but be mindful of how much energy that can take. So if you're doing the first option where you actually share that you're writing a book at the beginning, so if you're starting your marketing as soon as you start writing, that means that basically you are doing a launch where you're having to update them periodically from start to finish from a much longer timeline. Whereas if you are focusing on after you have your developmental edits or after your book is like physically in hand, or maybe not physically in hand, after your book is like done in terms of the files, then the timeline is a lot shorter because you're a lot closer to release and a lot closer to the post-launch period. So you have to decide how much stamina you have, how much capacity you have, and how you're going to interweave that into your process. Because you don't want to lose steam by overcommitting. And so it's very important to really think about that as well as you go on your journey. Now, if you're someone who wants to start your marketing before your book is done, I encourage you to join us for the 4-day Pre-Order Profits Challenge that's happening March 23rd at the time of this recording. If you catch this after, then the replays are available for you with the VIP option. And so there you will learn how to handle pre-order mistakes that you might not know you're making, to be able to understand success strategies for a profitable pre-order. And we'll also focus on how to find your audience of raving fan readers, because of course, whether you're doing a pre-order or not, you have to have people that you're selling it to. And so if you would like to join us, then go ahead and visit preorderprofits.com and secure your VIP seat. And until next time, stay profitable.